Wood is always spoken in quiet ways. Unlike metal or stone, it doesn't shout. It creaks, it cracks, it breathes. And when shaped by human hands into abstract sculpture, it becomes something altogether new and ancient at once. You're not just looking at art, you're witnessing memory and imagination meeting in form. A single block of wood might hold the ghost of a tree's former life and the spark of an artist's wild idea. Together they become a frozen dance of light, shape, and shadow, a visual poem cut into grain and fiber. This is what makes wood abstract sculpture so compelling. It doesn't ask to be understood, it asks to be felt. Walk into a space where an abstract wood sculpture stands, and immediately your body reacts before your mind catches up. You notice curves that pull your eyes around corners, edges that catch the light in a way that almost feels accidental but clearly isn't. Some pieces stand tall, monolithic, as if carved straight from a trunk left behind in the woods. Others are smaller, twisted, tightly coiled, or layered in a way that suggests movement, erosion, energy. You might not know what it is, but you feel it. And that's the entire point. These sculptures are meant to bypass language, to speak directly to the senses. There's something primal about the material itself. Wood isn't inert. Even after it's been cut, dried, sanded, and shaped, it continues to shift. It shrinks. It warps. It reacts to humidity and time. That's why abstract sculpture made from wood always carries an element of risk, of unpredictability. The artist doesn't command the wood, they collaborate with it. You can't fully control a medium that's still alive in its own subtle way. That collaboration becomes evident in the final result. The curves often follow the grain. The angles often break at natural knots. The surface might still show scars from the saw, or it might be polished smooth as glass. But it's never empty. There's always tension. Always movement. Some sculptures lean into geometry, cubes upon cubes stacked in impossible balance, like towers of Tetris blocks about to fall. These pieces echo digital structure but retain the organic complexity of their origin. Others are all about curves, ribbons of ash or walnut that spiral in on themselves, never meeting at the same point, always inviting the eye to trace their lines over and over. Then there are the fractured ones, pieces split apart and reassembled at strange angles. They feel like memories of something once whole, now intentionally broken and rebuilt. You stare and wonder, was it always meant to be this way? Or did the artist discover the shape through failure? Not every piece is large or imposing. Some are small enough to fit in the palm of your hand but dense with meaning. A hollowed cube, its corners sharpened, its interior dark and unreachable. A slice of burrow wood sanded to a mirror finish on one side, rough and raw on the other. These sculptures speak in whispers. They invite closeness. They reward patience. And that's the beauty of abstract wood sculpture. It doesn't rush you. It meets you wherever you are, in whatever state you bring to it. Texture plays a massive role. Some artists leave the surface almost untouched, just cleaned up enough to show the grain, the striations, the whorls. Others treat wood like stone, chiseling and sanding until the form has no relation to the tree it came from. Then there are those who burn it, stain it, bleach it, or char it with flame, giving the surface depth, contrast, and mystery. Blackened oak, for instance, feels like it's been excavated from a forgotten forest fire. Bleached pine becomes ghostly, fragile yet permanent. Every finish changes the mood entirely. And under the right light, those textures don't just show, they speak. Shadows fall differently across charred lines than they do across polished surfaces. Grain becomes contour. Cracks become accents. And while some sculptures sit still, others stretch into space. Hanging sculptures dangle from ceilings, spiraling gently as the air moves. Wall-mounted pieces burst outward, like frozen waves caught mid-explosion. Even floor-standing sculptures sometimes lean or reach as if trying to escape their base. Movement is everything. Not literal motion, but suggestion. The illusion that the sculpture could grow, change, shift if you weren't watching. There's a meditative quality in making these works. The process is often long, quiet, and intuitive. Artists might spend weeks just listening to the wood, learning its story, its grain direction, its potential and limits. They start carving with no fixed endpoint in mind, letting the form emerge gradually, like a figure beneath cloth being revealed one fold at a time. Mistakes aren't always corrected, they're absorbed, adjusted, turned into features. A split might become a shadow line. A knot might become the sculpture's center of gravity. The artist learns not to fight the material but to yield to it. To let the wood finish the sentence. It's this fusion of intuition and intention that makes abstract wood sculpture feel so human. It's never sterile. Never predictable. It carries within it the unpredictability of emotion, of memory, of landscape. Look closely and you might see forms that resemble waves, wings, mountain ridges, or bodies. But you might also see none of those things. You might just feel movement, stillness, tension. And all of that is valid, because interpretation is part of the work. The viewer completes the sculpture by bringing their own mind to it. And there's so much variety in style. Some sculptors embrace minimalism, clean lines, sparse compositions, negative space emphasized more than the form itself. Others go maximalist, layering woods of different species, contrasting tones, creating visual chaos that somehow resolves into harmony. Some work entirely by hand, using traditional chisels, rasps, and gouges. Others use CNC machines or 3D modeling software to prototype complex curves and interlocking shapes. Technology meets tradition and the result is astonishing. Even when precision tools are used, the final piece always bears the mark of the hand. The touch. The judgment of the maker. These sculptures live in galleries and museums, but more and more they're entering homes and public spaces. A single sculptural piece in a living room changes everything. It draws focus. It quiets the room. It becomes a kind of anchor, something to return your gaze to after a long day. In office spaces, wood abstract sculpture breaks the monotony of glass and metal. It brings softness, unpredictability, warmth. It humanizes the sterile. Outdoors, larger pieces weather over time, evolving as they interact with rain, wind, and sun. The wood cracks, fades, grays, and becomes even more beautiful in the process. Collectors often say that their sculptures reveal new things over time. You notice a line you hadn't seen before. You understand the flow differently depending on the season or your own state of mind. That's the magic of abstraction. It doesn't fix meaning. It doesn't close the loop. It opens it, lets you fall in. It grows with you. There's also an intimacy in owning something that was once a tree, that lived, that grew over decades, that fell or was cut and then given new life through human hands. The sculpture doesn't erase the tree, it honors it. It preserves the grain, the strength, the story. But it also moves beyond it. It becomes something born not of function but of feeling. Wood abstract sculpture doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't explain itself. It doesn't play by the old rules of shape and function. It just stands there, twisted, bold, broken, balanced, and makes you look. And that's the entire point. It isn't decoration. It's confrontation. Not loud, not violent, but quietly, completely undeniable. Start with the material. It could be a dense slab of walnut or a soft, unpredictable piece of cedar. Maybe a warped chunk of driftwood, or a salvaged beam from a building that's long since been torn down. What matters isn't where it came from, it's what it still carries. Grain patterns like wind frozen in motion. Knots like eyes. Cracks that run deep, not as damage but as design. Abstract sculpture doesn't aim to represent anything. It doesn't try to look like something else. And that's the freedom. You get forms that loop back on themselves, jet upward like tension being pulled tight, or melt sideways like they're surrendering. They don't resolve neatly. Some feel unfinished. Some feel like they're still growing. Tools matter, but not like in furniture making. You're not measuring corners or fitting joints. You're carving with chainsaws, shaping with rasps, burning edges, charring surfaces, sanding with your hands. Some artists use axes. Others use grinders. The goal isn't precision, it's presence. You're chasing emotion, not measurement. One piece might be a solid monolith, heavy and silent, like it's holding something ancient inside. Another might be open and airy, negative space doing just as much work as the wood that remains. You can twist slats into spirals, stack blocks into chaos, slice sheets into rhythmic patterns that catch light like frozen sound. Some abstract sculptures are massive, gallery centerpieces that dominate space with nothing but silence. Others are small, meant to be touched, turned, felt. There's power in both. Scale doesn't decide impact, intention does. Finishing is always deliberate. Some sculptures are left rough, tool marks visible, saw lines etched deep. Others are polished until they shine like stone, revealing every ring and ripple in the grain. Oil brings out contrast. Wax adds softness. Charring blackens the surface, turning wood into shadow. Some even mix media, metal rods, resin infills, stone bases. Not to distract, just to ground the form even more. Light transforms everything. A good sculpture changes with the hour. Morning light cuts sharp across its face. Evening light softens its edges. Shadows stretch long, pulling its shape across the floor or wall. This is where abstract wood sculptures shine, not just in what they are, but in how they move with time. And they fit where most things don't. Minimalist interiors? Perfect. Concrete and steel backdrops? Even better. Rustic spaces? They echo. Abstract wood sculptures thrive in contrast. They become anchors, something primal and solid in a room that might otherwise feel sterile or overly curated. But more than anything else, they provoke feeling. You don't walk past one without reacting. Maybe it unsettles you, too sharp, too strange. Maybe it calms you, a flow you can't name but can sense. That's the power of abstraction. It steps around logic and speaks directly to instinct, to memory, to emotion. No instructions, no labels, no obvious meaning. Just form, just grain, just presence. And sometimes that's enough. So if you're looking for wooden art that doesn't play nice, that doesn't try to fit in, look to abstract sculpture. It's wood stripped down and reassembled. It's chaos carved with purpose. It's not meant to match your couch or fill your shelf. It's meant to take up space and refuse to be ignored.